always see where it's increased. Okay, when you do the migration, you have to consider this, whether the program has already started or not yet started. If the process hasn't started, then no problem. But if you've already started, then you have to deal with this preemptive and non-preemptive transfer. Remember I mentioned about the checkpoint and all that? So this is already running. Okay, so you have to consider about the checkpoint. Now, if let's say you don't have checkpoint, that is where you have a safe place to transfer, to start the transfer. Okay, you're in the middle here, where it is not safe to transfer. Then you have to consider preemptive and non-preemptive transfer. Okay? So the previous point related to the preemptive process, the process has begun executing, so already running. Okay, non-preemptive process transfer involves process that has not yet started. Okay, so the non-preemptive one is easy. The preemptive one is difficult because while we are running, we have to preempt. Right? For example, you already changed some of the data. Can you roll back, or can you carry forward what you have changed across to another machine? Okay, so preemptive one is more difficult. Non-preemptive one is the simplest of all. You haven't started yet, then you do the migration. Okay. So the non-preemptive one is useful for load balancing. For example, I'm using a service in the web browser, for example. So when I issue my request, so that request is a new request, right? So I haven't started yet. So the server can choose to load balance. So when you receive my request, you found out that it's already full. It's already serviced quite a lot of people, right? So you can actually ask another machine, maybe through negotiation or automatically by the process or the operating system. The request is transferred to another machine to actually service it. Okay, so when I send my request, it goes to this machine, but I get diverted to another machine. So when the subsequent negotiation or the subsequent request will be between myself and this machine. Okay, so that is load balancing. Okay, distributed global state, and this is quite important because otherwise the data or the state, while it is processing, is not kept, and therefore the process is not running correctly. Okay, so as you run, you will have some kind of context that is you need to keep track of. Let's say, for example, the register or the file that you open, okay, and the file state that you are writing into. Right? The operating system cannot know all this, all the state. So the process needs to know this current state and then process them locally or maybe transfer it to remotely to another computer. Okay? So the distribution of global state should be done by the process rather than the operating system. But sometimes you can put checkpoints, like for example in this case that I'm talking about. So when you reach this checkpoint, then your process can safely tell the operating system that you can migrate or itself migrate. Okay? Because in this checkpoint though, you don't have much problem to do migration. Okay, so you need to do distributed coordination as you do the transfer. Now, I mentioned just now, the preemptive transfer. You need to make sure that there is some kind of coordination. Can you preempt? If you can preempt, what should you do? Okay, because as you preempt, somebody needs to be sacrificed. Okay? So that will depend on the ordering of the event. Right? So which one happened first? Which one happened later? Right? So we have some kind of notation that is used. So here this stage is telling you that the notation that we use is this arrow, this kind of arrow. Right? So that arrow is indicating which event happens first and which happens later. So if A and B are events in the same process, and A was executed before B, then we draw it this way. A arrow, that means this one happened first. If one happens late. Okay, if A is the event of sending a message by one process, and B is the event of receiving the message by another process, we also do it this way. Because A is the one that sent, so it must happen first, right? So A happens first, B happens later, and the same arrow that it is. Okay, if A with the arrow B, B arrow C, then A is happening first before C. Okay, because B is technically later, right? So this must happen first before C. Okay, this one I will not talk much because actually it's quite lengthy. I will just skim through, right? So whenever we have this kind of issue where we need to know who actually or which event let's start first, we need to have some kind of timestamp. Okay, the time that the event started. Why do we need this? If A and B happens on a computer, same computer, then there's no problem because we know when A happens and when B happens. But then if let's say it's a distributed system, then there's a problem. Okay? Because your computer might not have the same time. Okay? Let's say for example here. Let's take that both of them have the same time. That means this is 3 o'clock. At this particular time, this is also 3 o'clock at that particular time. Okay? So these two machines, this is the timeline. And if let's say they are very synchronized, that means 3 o'clock, they're 3 o'clock, exactly 3 o'clock. Okay? As the time passes, then I mean, during this time here, the time is still synchronized. Okay? Although it's synchronized, you've got a problem here because when I send a message, right, that message will not reach, let's say this is B, it will not reach B instantaneously. That means when you transfer, it needs time to travel. Right? So when I receive here, the time is already passed from here to here. Yeah, this point. Right? So if I receive it, if I refer to my time, then I'll think that this message is generated during this time, which is not true. Because the time that is generated is 3 o'clock. Okay, so the message that I send here, I need to timestamp. Okay? I have to timestamp 3 o'clock. So then when I reach here, maybe it's 3:01. I know that this message is not 3:01, it's actually 3 o'clock on this machine. And this is provided that A and B is exactly synchronized. Okay? That's why the timestamp here is important. Because if let's say I got event that happened also, but my event happened at here, 3:05, for example. Okay? So is this event B happen first or event A happen first? Because event A happens at 3 o'clock, but when I receive it's 3:01. Okay? So this timestamp is going to tell me the difference. And it can tell me who actually happened first, right there. So that is what is talking about, the timestamp that is talking about. Okay, and down below it tells you all sorts of things. How do you make sure that the hop is safe and all that? So I will not go into that. This part here is quite difficult to explain. Okay, and this is an example. Bank account is distributed over 2 branches. The total amount in the account is the sum of each branch. At 3 o'clock, the account balance is determined. That means 3 o'clock. Yes. The message are sent to request the information. Okay, it's just to illustrate the problem that we face, even though this one is 3 o'clock, this one is 3 o'clock, right? But the message that is sent actually requires time to populate from here to here, right? So if let's say this is ATM 1, ATM A, and ATM B, if your same account, okay, if let's say for example here is 100, here is 0, right? As the time passes, if I go and withdraw money here and I withdraw money here, can I simply ensure that if I withdraw money here 50 ringgit, because the 50 ringgit is only removed from the first ATM pin. So that is the worry here, and therefore you need to timestamp. Okay? Because, for example, as I said before, let's say the account is shared between your mother and yourself. Let's say, for example, your mother is at another place withdrawing, you at another ATM withdrawing, right? So when they withdraw, will the bank know that this has been withdrawn, so that you don't over withdraw here. Let's say you got 100 ringgit, right? So your mom withdraw 100, are you able to withdraw 100 ringgit as well? Okay, so this timestamp is very important to know who actually withdraw first, and therefore you don't get into trouble where you allow two withdrawal, and therefore the person is able to withdraw 100 and 100, where your balance is only 100. So you get an extra 100 ringgit, right? Okay, these are force reading. Here's one example. Okay. This is still not exactly the same time. That means this is synchronized with another machine. Okay. So when you withdraw, you transfer the money. Let's say from branch A to branch B, you transfer the money, right? You transfer at 2:59, but it reaches here is 3:01. Okay. So during this time here, when you look at your account is good. But you already transferred 2:59, you already transferred. But at 3 o'clock, you still see that it is 0 because the message arrived later. Okay, so this is a false reading. And this is the one that I was talking about. You will have a distributed system. Okay, this is the coordination that you need between these two in order to ensure that they have a consistent view of your information. So this one actually is a problem, right? And this one you're lucky because the time is the same, synchronized. But what happens if let's say the time is not synchronized? Branch A and branch B do not have the same time. You have another sort of problem here. Okay? So this branch A thinks that at that time it's 3 o'clock. But branch B at that time is not 3 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock is here. Okay? So you have another problem here. This problem is because the time is not synchronized. Right? So here is sent at 3:01. But what you receive is before 3 o'clock, 2:59. But the message is actually timestamped with 3:01. So branch B will get confused here. Because how can my time is before, but your time is actually is 3 o'clock. Okay? So here can be a problem, and you can see that if you don't take into account all this, your total will be 200. But actually, your balance is only 100. Right? So this is another issue where your time is not synchronized. Okay, I will not go into this, and these are a way to actually overcome it. So you take snapshot, and then you have a global state to keep track of everything that is happening. And when you distribute the snapshot, you must make sure that all those problems that I mentioned to you are taken into consideration, and then you adjust yourself to make sure that the process is done without causing any issue to the bank, for example, in this case here. Instead of you having 100 ringgit in your balance, but you're able to retrieve 200, like for example, just now talk. Okay, this one is a problem, but if you don't take into account all this timestamp information, you allow the customer to withdraw more money than he has. Okay, so here is using snapshot and distributed snapshot in order to overcome that. Okay. I will not go into this because this one is actually quite lengthy, and it's only shown three slides. I don't think I can explain it just in 3 slides. Distributed in snapshot, and it won't come out in exam. Okay. So this one will not come out in exam.
fully or entirely?
The entire thing. Okay? I'm just telling you that in order to solve this, we use distributed snapshot operator. I will not go into it because those slides is actually not sufficient for me to actually make you understand what this snapshot algorithm is all about.
So some terms that are mostly used
No, I won't ask you in this part in the exam. Okay, the next thing is how do you actually do scheduling of your process? Okay, you have level of scheduling which you do it locally or you do it globally. Okay, the second thing is the choice of distributing your load. You can do load balancing, you can also do load sharing. Okay? So these are the choices that you have. So the goal of the load balancing that I mentioned just now is to transfer the load from heavy loaded computer, which is doing the job, and also making sure that the computer are not idle. Okay? So if the computer is idle, you just move your load over so that you lighten the heavily loaded machine to the idle machine, so that the idle machine can take over some of the job. Okay, so the decision is hardwired because you use a static, that is you already pre-program it. You transfer this much, then that is a hardwired. It's very simple. You just write the code, and then you will do the transfer immediately. But this one will require your knowledge before. Then this is going to be heavily loaded, so you have to transfer it. So this is static decision. Another decision to decide when to do the transfer is dynamic. You make use of the information. You look at whether the CPU is overloaded. Once the CPU overloaded, then you initiate it by transferring some of the load to the idle computer. The last one is dynamic. The dynamic one is basically same like the adaptive. It's the same as dynamic. We use special classes of dynamic algorithm in order to exchange the load from one computer to the others. Okay? So the dynamic and adaptive is kind of similar, except that the adaptive one relies on further finer details of your algorithm. Okay? Not just looking at your CPU, whether it's heavy or not. It also look at other factors before it does the load sharing or transfer of the load. Okay, so what is the difference between load balancing and load sharing? Load balancing means the operating system ensure that the computer is well distributed. Okay? Let's say, for example, here I have both of them are the same. So the term here, load balancing and load sharing, is more or less the same. Okay, let's say this is process 1, process 2, process 3, process 4. And here is process 5, process 6. Right? And this is on your computer, let's say node 1, and this is node 2. Okay? So load balancing will try to make sure that the two load here is more or less the same. It may count the number of processes. Here it is 2, here is 4, right? So you can transfer this 2 across. So here will be 3, transfer only 1. Transfer only 1. So P3 will be here, and therefore here is P1, P2, P4, this one P5, P6, and P3. Okay? So load balancing will try to ensure that the number of processes is more or less equal. Okay? Now this is in terms of the process, but it can be kind of different, and in a sense that if let's say for example this P1 here, okay, maybe I draw like this, is a lot of process that's happening. You use a lot of CPU. This one is a little bit, okay, and this one maybe is even less, and this one is maybe as full as that. Okay, and this one maybe is using this much of processor, and this P6 is this much. Okay? Let's say this is P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, P6. Okay, the height here indicate how busy is this process using the CPU or the resources in this computer here. If you just count the process, then it's very easy. You just transfer one, then it's load balance only, right? But a more difficult one, the one that I talked about, the adaptive one, just now is the dynamic, and then adaptive is basically looking not only at the process, number of process, you look at the load as well. Okay, so if this one is overloaded, most probably you transfer not P3, you want to transfer P4 vector here. Because this one is highly loaded, you transfer P4 vector, right? Because this one is quite heavy, so you transfer across. You don't transfer P3 because if you transfer P3, this is still overloaded, although there are the same number of processes, right? Okay, so that's the difference between the just now dynamic and adaptive. Adaptive is talking about this. Dynamic is basically just looking at the simpler number of processors, and then you do the transfer. Okay. Now let's look at the load balancing and load sharing. Now load balancing is the same. Either you load balance the process, that means here is 4, here is 2, and then you transfer 1. So you 3 balance, right? Or if you look at more finer detail, okay, when you balance it, basically you look at how much resources that is using. So you balance that. It might be that you need to transfer these 2 rather across, then only balance. Okay, maybe this one is this much, right? So when you transfer these 2 across, you find out that this, even though this is 2, this is 4, but it's balanced in terms of the resources that is used. Okay, the resources can be CPU power, right? So that is what it means by load balancing. Now, how about load sharing? Okay, load sharing, it doesn't care about whether it's balanced or not. You just transfer across. As long as this is idle, you just transfer. So whether it is balanced or not balanced is not really a problem. Okay? So load balancing is a bit harder to do. Load sharing is simpler to do because load sharing you don't really look into the details. You just transfer. If you feel that this is a bit loaded, just transfer across. Okay? Load balancing, the operating system needs to take into account all those details in order to decide whether it is balanced or not. And then if it is not balanced, keep on transferring. Okay? So what should I answer for this? I don't know, this slide does not mention.